toward kind of the latter side of a 5-week theme that we've been working with called the Yamas, and I'll go into what those mean in just a moment. But for those of you who have not attended the 3 preceding classes, don't worry, don't worry. I present this information in a way that you'll get something out of it regardless. It's just that if you come to like all of them, for example, you'll get um, a broader understanding. But if you're just dropping in, don't worry. You're not going to feel left behind, hopefully. So the yamas come from the Yoga Sutra, which is one of the philosophical texts of yoga. It's one of the foundational ones where um, a lot of what you probably already know about yoga came from. There's a system called the 8 limbs that this is a part of. And yoga postures are a part of that. Pranayama breath work is a part of that. Meditation is 3 parts of that. And the yamas is the first of the 8 limbs, and there are 5 of them. And so we've already worked with and experienced nonviolence, we've experienced non-lying, we've experienced non-stealing, and now we find ourselves with the 4th yama. So we have one more coming next week. Don't worry, we're not done just yet. And yeah, these are called the restraints, the yamas. So if you abstain from doing these things, the idea is that you will be happier. You'll cause less suffering to yourself and others. You'll be happier. And if you think of yoga as a spiritual or philosophical practice, it's up to you how you want to define that. It helps you toward that goal. So greater realization or greater enlightenment. That's what the 8 limbs lead you to eventually, is kind of like a absorption of the ego. So to not necessarily feel death of the ego, it's not Buddhist in that sense, but the point where the ego remembers that it is more than a singular little soul, little body here on earth. So we're over the next several months, we're going to work our way through all of the 8 limbs, and we're just getting started. So anyway, we're at the 4th one, the 4th yama, that is, which is brahmacharya. And brahmacharya is controversial because if you look at the historical texts, it just means chastity. And I find that to be kind of weird, and I've worked with teachers on this, and I've like studied the sutras of Patanjali, and the way that it's kind of interpreted for the modern audience is moderation of sensual indulgence. And that could mean anything that has to do with the senses. You kind of think back of when this stuff was written, which is like 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, like people who studied yoga were mostly aesthetics. And as we come into our modern age, we're mostly what are called householders, people who live and work in the world and can't just go be in a cave somewhere. So what we are translating that to mean, what the ancient yogis meant, is that we need to be able to moderate how much we indulge in any one thing. And in doing that, we reserve our energy so that we can do our philosophical and spiritual practices. So that is what this means in the context of what we're doing today. So we don't want to feel depleted. We don't want to overwork. We don't want to overeat. We don't want to over exercise. We don't want to over sexualize. We don't want to overdo anything. We want to make sure that we are practicing life with a sense of moderation and a sense of balance. And the idea is that if you keep doing this, like you'll have more energy. Like you'll be motivated to do your spiritual and philosophical practices. You'll be motivated to eat well and do the things that really serve you. It's good to mention that while I'm talking about this kind of idealistically, that these are practices. It's easy to say that these are kind of like commandments and you have to do them or else bad things happen. That's not true here. These are practices. We do our best, and sometimes we do them better than other times. So just have compassion for yourself in this practice. So when it comes to practicing yoga asana or postures like we're going to be doing tonight, the way that we can practice moderation is through how much effort or not effort we're putting into our practice. A lot of times we're just giving it our all and plus some, and there are times when that's useful, and there are times when that's actually just going to fry you out. So the key part of our practice tonight is going to be called kaya sthira, which means absolute stillness or steadiness. And in essence, that practice is the same as brahmacharya. It means Relax anything that does not have to be engaged. So that's how we're going to practice that today. Another way that you can kind of think about it as well, and then we'll get started, is sometimes we get caught up in a flow or we kind of have habits in our practices. And it's just kind of our go-to. We don't try new things when they're offered to us because something is more comfortable. Brahmacharya asks you to kind of step out of those habits to see, is there a more efficient or better way for you to practice, and keep a kind of an open mind around what is good and not good for you. Even when something, historically has been great, we change. Change is the only constant. So um, that's what we're going to do. All right. Wow, there's a lot of us here. Hey, y'all. Looking and seeing the roster now. So let's go ahead and get started. Sitting comfortably, we'll relax our shoulders down our backs. We're going to practice some Brahmacharya. So feel the shoulders relax, crown of the head lifts, and tune into your breath, aware of the inhale, aware of the exhale. Now to start with our centering, notice where you are efforting that is not necessary. Maybe your jaw is clenching a bit or your eyes are tight. Can you soften that? Maybe your hands are gripping a bit. Your feet might be clenching. Maybe you feel your stomach bracing. Maybe you feel some clenching of muscles in the pelvis, the region of the pelvis. Maybe your shoulders are scrunching a little bit. Can you relax that as much as you can in this moment? Maybe your breath feels effortful. And then we'll come into Kaya Sthira, which is absolute stillness or steadiness. And so for the next minute or so, don't move a muscle other than breathing. You can still breathe, but the breath is effortless. Everything else stays still. Your tongue stays still, no swallowing. Try not to fidget or itch. Now, of course, as I say that, you'll start to notice the skin prickling in certain areas, wanting attention. You can acknowledge it, but don't move. If it's uncomfortable, sit with the discomfort. It's just discomfort. Keeping the breath steady. Noticing when you need to move and then not moving. And if you do notice a movement, that's okay too. But know that a movement of the body is a movement of the mind. And you come back to stillness for just a little bit longer. All right. Keeping the body still for the moment. We're going to move into our opening chanting Om 3 times. You can join me or just listen. Take a deep breath in to begin. Bring your palms to your heart and bow the chin. Honor yourself as you are in this moment. Body, breath, energy, and mind. It's in service of all of that we'll practice tonight. Go ahead and rub the palms together, creating heat between them. Nice and warm. Then take your heated palms over your eyes, brushing back over the top of your head, down your neck, bringing yourself back to your space. Good. All right, take your time, but we're going to come onto our backs to start. So moving your props off to the side, come lay down. Okay. Once you get onto your back, and if you're still making your way there, take your time. But once you're there, hug your knees into your chest for a moment. Maybe reveling in another moment of stillness or steadiness. Good. And then go ahead and take your feet flat to the floor, heels underneath your knees, and the feet are about hip width apart. And we'll do some bridge rolls. So with your next inhale, lift your arms all the way overhead, knuckles on the floor above you. At the same time, pick up your hips and reach your pelvis toward the ceiling. Then with your exhale, release your arms and hips back down. And we'll do that again. Inhale, lift the arms and hips. Bridge pose. And exhale, release the arms and hips back down. And then just keep moving with your breath, nice and steady, lifting on inhale. Nice and steady, lowering down on exhale. Please continue. Warming up the spine, the shoulders, the hips, the tops of the thighs, the front of the abdomen, the lower back. Lots happening here. Good. Let's do 2 more rounds. All right. Inhale up and exhale down. Good. And then I'll have you come into the pose one more time. And we're going to stay. Arms all the way overhead, knuckles on the floor above you, and pressing the pelvis toward the ceiling. Good. Now see where you can relax here, but stay in the pose. So there's some more obvious places like relax your jaw and your throat, your eyes. You can relax your arms a bit here as well. Good. Now to help strengthen the lower back a bit, see if you can relax your glutes, the buttocks, just a little bit. If that starts to feel a bit unsafe, it's okay to re-engage the glutes. Just see if you can soften them a bit, allowing the lower back to stabilize you in this posture for just a few more breaths. Good. One more breath here. And then with your exhale, release the arms and hips back on down. Feel sensation. Good. And then go ahead and bring your right knee into your chest. And you're going to flex the right foot and take the right, flex the right foot, bring the right ankle to center of the left thigh. Sorry, lefts and rights tonight. Good. And again, you're going to keep the right foot flexed, and we're going to come into half bridge. Your arms can stay down by your side for this, but for your next inhale, press the left foot into the floor and lift the hips into the air again. Then exhale, release the hips back down. And we'll go in and out a few more times. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, lowering. And keeping the right foot flexed helps to protect the ankle and the knee joint, so please do have that. Good. All right. So with your next inhale, lift the hips again and stay up and see what you can relax here. So again, there's the muscles that you definitely don't need, your throat, your jaw, your eyes, your arms. And while you're pressing up strongly through the left side, see if you can relax the right side of your body a bit, especially that right hip. Good. Take a deep breath in and then carefully, slowly release the hips on down. Keep the leg crossed, but take an adjusting breath. Good. And then keeping the leg crossed, you're going to bring your left knee into your chest. And your right hand can reach between the legs, and you can hold behind the left thigh with both hands. And you're not yanking the leg in toward your chest. The hips don't like that, but you can gently guide the hips or the knee toward your chest. You'll start to feel something in your right glute. Take deep breaths here, noticing where there's tension, and just imagining that tension softening or relaxing. Sometimes I even talk to my body a bit. So, like if my right glute, for example, here is feeling tight, it's kind of screaming at me. I'm like, it's okay. You can relax. You can relax. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. So, ask that right hip to relax a bit. We're going to stay for just a little bit longer. And if you have the flexibility in your hips, if you don't, just stay here. But if you have the flexibility in your hips, you can take your right elbow and press your right knee away from you as you draw the left knee toward you. That intensifies this practice a bit, so only do it if you feel like you have access. And keep breathing. Good. One more breath. And then carefully, slowly bring the left foot back down to the floor. And now we'll uncross the legs. Good. Feel free to adjust before we do the other side, however feels good for you. But then we will do the other side. So with your right foot flat on the floor, heel underneath the knee, go ahead and cross your left ankle center of the right thigh and flex that left foot, keeping the joints nice and safe here. And then bring your arms down by your side, and we'll go in and out of this half bridge about 5 or 6 times. So with your next inhalation, go ahead and pick up the hips, reach your pelvis up, and then exhale slowly, steadily bring the hips back down. And then just keep going on your breath, lifting inhale, lowering exhale. Just a couple more. Good. Now take your time getting there, but the next time you lift your hips into the air, go ahead and stay. Get stable. Relax the face, relax the throat. You're engaged strongly through the right side. Relax the left hip. Breathe. Press up a bit higher. You're almost done. And then with your next exhale, slowly, steadily release the hips on down. Take a breath, keeping the ankle crossed. Good. And then we'll come into the second part of this exercise. So go ahead and bring your right knee into your chest. Your left hand can reach between the legs to hold the back of the right thigh with both hands. And then guide the right knee toward your chest, only going as far as you can before you start to feel the stretch. And keep the left foot flexed. We have a whole other hip here that's having its own conversation with you. This side might be tighter, this side might be more open. Just notice and breathe. If you liked talking to your hips before, it might work here again. Steady breaths. And you may notice that over time that left hip starts to relax a bit. It might not yet, and that's fine too. Stay in the practice. And just like on the first side, if you have the flexibility in your hips, you can brace your elbow into your left thigh or knee, pushing it away from you as you draw the right thigh or knee into your chest. But only do that if your hips can. Don't force it. Deep breaths. Good. One more breath here. And then carefully bring the right foot down to the floor and uncross. Good. Beautiful. So take your feet a bit further away from your hips, just a little bit further away, and as wide apart as your yoga mat. Your arms can relax out to the side or hands on your belly. You're just going to rock the knees from side to side. It doesn't have to be with a breath right now. You're just kind of soothing any tension that's kind of tightening up in the hips right now. So just from side to side. Feeling the legs loose in the hip joints. This is also helping to relieve tension in the lower back and sacrum. Good. So we'll do one more exercise here on our backs and then we'll come up and do something else. So go ahead and bring your knees back to center, even though I feel like I could do that forever. And bring your knees into your chest. And then bring the soles of the feet together in butterfly, knees coming out wide. Now you can hold on to the legs either at the shins, or some of you with longer arms might be able to hold the pinky edge of the feet. Good. Now, once you have that connection, you kind of settle into your version of this pose. And this is one of those postures that has what we call a release valve, meaning a way to come into it where there's a little bit of a stretch or no stretch at all, but you might not be challenging yourself in the way that you can. And so, in the honor of kind of breaking habits, I'm going to have you come into a more engaged version of this. So you're going to bring your feet over your belly, so pretty high up. Good. Now, depending on your flexibility, it will depend on what happens here next. You're going to bring your feet, you're going to pull straight down toward the navel. So, not down toward the hips, but straight downward toward the navel or chest. Your hips will probably have something to say about this. Your lower back might have something to say about this as well. But it's more of a stretch in the hips. And pretty naturally, your lower back rolls up off the floor here. See if you can roll that back down. You're just creating a bit more resistance in the hands and feet to create that lower back to the floor ambition. Good. One or two more breaths here. And then come into your comfortable version of this posture. So you might bring the heels more down towards your groin and curl your chin in toward your throat. Roll up a bit, kind of a ball with your upper back. Then we're going to rock back to the shoulders and try to rock up to a seat. And if that didn't work, just cheat. It's okay to do. All right. So let's come on to hands and knees. Go ahead and swing your legs around behind you. Take your time with that. Hands under your shoulders, knees beneath the hips or slightly further back. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, Balasana, child's pose. Inhale up to hands and knees. And then let's come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Good. So it's our first down dog of the night. Go ahead and walk it out a bit, pressing a heel to the floor as you bend the opposite knee. Just pedaling the feet. And while you're lengthening the legs, you're also lengthening your spine. So keep the hip bones reaching powerfully toward the ceiling behind you. Deep breaths here. Keep going. Just continuing to warm up the body. Good. And then with your next inhale, float down onto hands and knees. Release the feet. Exhale, child's pose. Take an adjusting breath. Good. And then inhale back up. Downward facing dog. Now in downward facing dog, make any adjustments you need to because we're going to practice stillness here. So get out any fidgets or any adjustments to be in the pose in a comfortable way. And then wherever you've landed right now, go ahead and stop moving. And just be in downward dog. Yes, you might notice that it'd be more comfortable if you shifted a bit, but just stay anyway. Of course, the breath is still moving, but allow the breath to be rather effortless, not forcing it. You're almost there. Stillness. Good. Inhale, float down onto hands and knees. Exhale, child's pose. All right. Inhale back up to hands and knees. Again, downward facing dog. I won't make you hold it this time. We're just going to move through the Danda Kriya flow a couple times. I'll lead you through it, of course. Inhale, come into plank pose. With your exhale, bend your elbows in towards your waist. Bring your chest 1 inch from the floor, chaturanga. Inhale, press the arms straight. Take the shoulders back. Come onto the tops of the feet. Knees lift, upward facing dog. And then exhale, feel a tug behind your navel that pulls you back into downward facing dog. Good, let's do that again. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, 1 inch from the floor, chaturanga. And then press the arms straight, take the shoulders back, come onto the tops of the feet, up dog. And then exhale, pull back into downward facing dog. Again, inhale, plank. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. 2 more times, plank. Chaturanga. Up dog. Downward dog. 5th time's a charm. Inhale forward. Down. Scoop up. And pull on back. All right, and then from here, from downward facing dog, walk your hands back to meet your feet, coming into Uttanasana, the standing forward fold. And then relax your shoulders, relax your head, relax your jaw, your arms, your neck. Allow the knees to be slightly bent. And then notice where you're resting the weight of your body in your feet. If it's more toward the heels, just lean forward into the balls of the feet a bit more. You'll feel more of a stretch in the backs of the legs and maybe even the lower back. And in this forward fold, as we hold it for a few more breaths, you might want to shake your head around a bit or nod a bit. Just helping to coax any tension out of the shoulders and neck and onto the floor. All right, with your next inhale, press palms to shins, come halfway up. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, come all the way up to standing, strong back, reach overhead, and then bring your palms to your heart. Good, feel sensation as we come to standing. It's happening in your body, your legs, your hips, your back, your heart, your shoulders, arms, neck, head, knees and toes. Good. All right. So we're going to do some balancing tonight. Quite a bit of balancing, actually. So why don't we go ahead and get started with that? Have your feet stacked right underneath your hips. Nice stable stance. And we want to start by finding where is our balanced center, where are we going to be the most stable. And so we're going to do 2 exercises to help figure that out. First, just kind of sway from side to side and stop at the point where it feels like the weight of your body is evenly placed in both feet. And then do the same thing, kind of swaying forward and back, not too far because you'll fall. But there's a point where the weight of the body is evenly placed between the balls of the feet and the heels, and then stop at that point. And just estimate if you can't really tell. You'll find it, don't worry. And so we've made a crosshairs with our movement. So we're now at the center of that crosshairs. We're now grounded in our standing center. Then you're going to take that crosshairs, you're going to move that center line down into the center of your left foot. So you're going to lean over a bit. You're going to kind of lean to the side. Next thing, before we pick up the right leg, focus your eyes to a single non-moving point. When the eyes are focused, it's easier to balance. Your hands can rest down or on your hips. When you're ready, go ahead and pick up your right knee as high as you can. Feel the chest lift here. Feel the pelvis pull up as well. Then place the right foot down. Feel that crosshairs come back to center, and then move it down into the center of your right foot. Good. As you start to lean, the left foot gets light. Go ahead and pick it up, knee to chest. Breathe. Good. Then place the left foot on down, crosshairs to center. Good. Go ahead and come back into that left foot, pick up the right foot. And then place the right foot down, come back to center, then into the right foot with that crosshairs, that center. Left knee lifts. We're breathing. Because if you don't breathe when you balance, you pass out and you fall. So we do it breathing. Bring the left foot down. All right, we'll switch things up a bit now. Come back into the left foot. Pick up the right knee. Take the right knee out to the side and bring the foot either above or below the knee on the left leg. Okay, and you can help it up toward the knee if you want, or the thigh, I should say. You can keep holding on to it if you want to. If you can keep it there, you might bring palms to heart. A version of tree pose. Keep the eyes focused, keep breathing. Good, and then go ahead and place the right foot back down as best you can. You might take a moment and center for a bit. But when you're ready, we're going to come back into the right foot. Pick up the left knee. Once you're steady, take the knee out to the side, and then bring the foot to the inner leg, either above or below the knee. Just don't put it on the knee itself because it's bad for that joint. And you can keep holding on to the leg, or you might bring palms to heart. I know we love balancing, don't we? Good, all right. So go ahead and bring the left foot back down to the floor and come back to center. So from here on out, the balancing is going to be getting a little bit harder. So if you want to, you can use the wall. And so I'll demonstrate this next part of the exercise both in the room and then also at my wardrobe. Hopefully I won't knock that over. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And you'll see why you may or may not need the wall. So I'm going to shift back into my left leg, and I'm just demonstrating right now. I'll pick the knee up, and I'm going to internally rotate the hip so that the heel comes upwards. I'm going to go grab down by it. It's because I'm looking around. And then draw the heel up or the foot upward. This hip is going to start acting up a bit. I'm just going to ask it to relax. And I'm keeping the heel away from my body. I'm not just pulling it in. I'm keeping it about parallel in front. Good. And then after a couple of breaths, we'll place it back down. Okay, so if it's hard to do that in the middle of the room, which it can be, you'll do the exact same thing I just did, but you'll just have your hips kind of against the wall, and you'll do it like this. And so for actually this one, my upper back is against the wall. And that way you just have a little bit of bracing. Okay, so let's do that. Shift back into your left foot. Focus the eyes, even if you're at the wall or a piece of furniture, and pick up the right knee. And then you're going to cut the right heel inward. Go ahead and reach down and grab hold of it and draw it up. I'm keeping the right foot flexed here. Again, that protects the joints. Pulling it up as best as possible, then asking the right hip to relax. Breathe. Soften your jaw. All right, and then very carefully put that right foot right back down. Good, and then we will do the other side. Take your time, but when you're ready, you're going to shift into your right foot. Pick up your left knee. Flex the foot. Cut the heel inward, reach down and grab hold of it, and then draw it upwards. When we balance, we start to notice a lot of asymmetries in the body. One hip is more open than the other. So you'll probably notice that at least at this point, if you haven't already. Ask the left hip to relax. And give it time. Don't rush it. Soften your jaw. Good. And then carefully put that left foot back down. Good. We do have more balancing to do, but I want us to just do something else for just a second. I'm going to have you fold forward back into Uttanasana, just a nice symmetrical posture, just to let your body know that we're still taking care of it. Good. And then go ahead and come back up to standing when you're ready. So demonstrating again, there's different phases of these things. I'm going to come back into my left foot. And again, you could be at the wall for this. Going to bring the right knee up, cut the heel in, bring up. I'm moving fast, you'll move slow. And once you stayed here for a bit, you're going to bring the heel in toward the groin or as high above the knee as you can and allow the right knee, in this case, my right knee, to drop completely down. Now I might keep holding onto the foot here. I like to bend the standing leg just a little bit to create a shelf, and you might be able to let it stay there by itself. Maybe palms to heart, or maybe one palm to heart. And we'll stay here and we'll relax, relax for a bit. Now there's going to come a point where I'll give you the option to either stay here or to fold forward over a single leg. And so at that point, you would hinge at the hips and you'd bring the hands onto the floor or toward the floor. Now, if the floor is feeling far away, you can grab blocks or stack of books or something and have them where your hands would land. So you could have those prepped beforehand. So I'm here by now, I'm trying to. So you're here by now, and then you're going to fold forward and you'll just have the blocks so that you can rest over the leg. I promise this will make sense why we're doing this later. So again, you could be at the wall for this. If you need support, have it. Let's go ahead and begin with this practice. Moving into the left foot, pick up the right knee, cut it in. Go ahead and reach down and grab hold of the foot, draw it upward. Allow that hip to relax a bit. And once it has, Go ahead and bring the heel in toward the body, as long as it's above the knee, and then release the right knee down. Now you can bend the left knee a little bit to create a shelf for that right foot, or you can keep holding on to it, but it's up to you. And if you fall, it's okay. Just take your time coming back into this. This is all a practice. Breathe. And then if and when you're ready for this next phase, you'll hinge at the hips. You'll bring your hands down to blocks or books or the floor. And even folding, you can still be holding on to that right foot. Still holding this pose. In what ways can you create more stillness? Now, I understand that we're in a posture that might feel effortful, so complete stillness might not be available to you, but how can you quiet the body and mind just a bit more? Can you relax the breath, the shoulders, the neck? The jaw, the eyes, the belly? Good, all right. When you're ready to come out, reach up and grab the right foot and just help it down to the floor, and you'll be in the standing forward fold. Press palms to shins, come halfway up, feel length in your spine, extending the spine forward. Then exhale, fold back down. Then inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, strong back, come all the way up. And release the arms down. Good, take an adjusting breath. That was so much fun. We're gonna do it again on the other side. Because we got it balanced. Can't have you walking out of here with one leg longer than the other. You just walk in circles. So, all right, so because there's asymmetries in the body, this experience will be different on this side regardless. So you might need support where you didn't before, or you might not need support where you did need support before. So just be open to what might be available to you here. I'm gonna bring my blocks here just in case. All right, right foot time. Go ahead and shift into it. Go ahead and bring up the left knee and take your time through these first few stages. When you're ready, cut the heel in, go down and grab it, pull it upward, allowing the left hip to relax a bit. If you fall, it's okay. Just come back into it. Re-engage with the practice. No judgment. And once you're okay here, bring the heel in toward the body as much as you can. Again, I like to soften the standing leg a little bit to create a shelf. You can keep holding on to the leg, maybe palms to heart. Breathing. If and when you feel like you want to, go ahead and hinge at the hips. Fold, reaching for the blocks, reaching for the floor. Again, you can keep holding on to that left foot with a hand if you need to. And as you're in the pose, however far you've gotten into this, ask yourself, how can I make this a bit steadier? Where am I efforting that I just don't need to effort? The head, maybe the head can hang. The jaw can relax. Maybe you feel your abdomen clenching. Are you still breathing? Keep breathing. Almost done, almost done. Right, so when you're ready to come out, you're gonna reach up and grab the left foot and just help it to the floor, don't drop it. And find yourself again in Uttanasana, the standing forward fold. Inhale, press palms to shins, come halfway up. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, sweep the arms out to the side, strong back coming all the way up. And release the arms. Good. And just feel sensation for a moment. We've really worked the hips out a bit. We've really balanced a lot. There's been a lot of energy moving in the body. What's available to you in this moment, sensation-wise, information-wise, maybe you realize something. And taking a deeper, fuller breath, coming on back. Good. So I know we just came up to balance. We're going to bring our energy back down to the floor because our apex posture tonight is pigeon pose, which is, I know a few of you love this pose, and a few of you love this pose. So let's go ahead and come on down. You can just sit for a moment. If you know pigeon, just go ahead and come into it. I will demonstrate it if you don't know it or if you're not sure about the steps. You may need support, and so that support could either be a folded blanket or it might be a yoga block or the equivalent of. So we're going to come into it from hands and knees. You'll bring your right foot forward, and then I'm going to bring the right foot to the left side of my yoga mat so that I release the shin parallel to the front of the mat to start. Okay? And then curling the back toes under, I'll lift the back knee and take the knee back just a little bit further. Good. Now your hips might not go down this far, and that's completely fine. And that's where you'll take a folded blanket and bring it underneath the hip. Or if it's a bit higher than that, you'll use a yoga block under the hip. This will just give you a bit more support here. And you could also take the right heel, the one that's forward, back toward the groin just a little bit. Okay? You don't want it I'll turn this way a little bit. You don't want the heel all the way into the groin or else you're just not in the pose anymore. You still want it out to the side a bit. Okay, so it's more like this kind of configuration. All right, so you're probably already with me here. Just go ahead and come into it if you haven't already. And there's a few more stages, but we'll do them together. Good. This is one of those postures we'll be holding for a while, depending on which stage we're in. So get comfortable. Again, bring support where you might need it. And keep the heart lifting for now. Because sometimes when we come down onto our forearms immediately, we actually pull ourselves forward, which takes us out of the pose. So actually by pressing the hands into the floor, we're pushing ourselves back, which stretches the hip deeper. Let's take some deep breaths in and out. Now, if you can keep the hips sinking down and back, you can come down onto your forearms. If you get down onto your forearms and realize that's too much, you can come back up onto your hands. Just make sure that you're not pulling your upper body forward. There's still this idea of resisting what's in front of you and pulling back just a little bit. And whether you're on your forearms or on your hands with the arms straight, start to see where you can relax a bit here. Maybe it's in the breath, clenching in the belly or face, or somewhere else entirely. Where can you soften a bit? This idea of just being here, practicing this in just this moment, not worrying about having to do anything else. It's natural in our lives to kind of be in multitasking mode most of the time. That can sometimes be excessive. And in practicing non excess brahmacharya, we let go of some of those tendrils to those other tasks. Staying grounded in the present moment. How is this body? How is this breath? How is this mind? You might notice the hips relaxing after a while. They're sinking a bit deeper than they did at first. Maybe, maybe not. It's just a curiosity, not a judgment. And for the last little bit in this pose on this side, can you be as still as possible? As still as possible. Contain your energy. Contain your will. Be steady. Even if the body asks you to move, stay still. Move through the discomfort. And you might find a peace in this pose that wasn't available to you before. Right. Deepening your breath. If you're on your forearms, take your time coming back up onto the hands. And then to come out, I like to have the back toes curled under and pop the back knee forward, giving enough clearance for my right leg to come back. Now, from here, it's up to you. Some folks like downward facing dog. Some folks like child's pose. Maybe there's a different pose altogether you want to do. Just adjust. Tend to what needs to be tended to. Maybe there's a Danda Kriya in there. Good. Now, when you're ready to do the other side, and you can decide when that is, you're going to have your left foot forward this time. Now, again, we spent a while getting into that first side, so don't rush this just because you know where we're going, okay? So with your left foot forward, bring your left foot to the right side of your yoga mat. And of course, if you know how to get into this, just go ahead and come on in. You're going to release the shin down parallel to the front of your mat. Curling the right toes under behind you, lift the back knee and take it back just a little bit further. And then begin to feel the hips sink downward. Now you might find here that you need support underneath that left hip. So again, you can use a block or a folded blanket. I'm noticing that my right knee feels a little bit sensitive on the floor behind me, so I'm bringing a blanket underneath it. So there's so many ways to support yourself here. Good. Now, earlier when we were in the first side, I mentioned staying with the arms straight, hands on the floor for a bit, and I still encourage that. Keeping the heart lifting, keeping the hips sinking down and back, and breathing. Now you can stay up on your hands if you want to. If you do want to come down onto your forearms, just make sure that the hips are still intentional. So that they're still moving downward and backward slightly, that you don't pull yourself out of the pose. And if you get down onto your forearms and realize that was a bad idea, it's okay to come back up onto the hands. Even if you came down onto the forearms on the first side, again, there are asymmetries. It's okay. Pick what's going to serve you. And as you settle in, where can you effort less? In what ways could you be steadier in this moment? Keep breathing. Keep softening. And for the last little bit here, find stillness. Be still. Resist the urge to shift or move. Be in the present moment with this experience. Pure awareness, not judging it, not qualifying it as good or bad. This just is. Almost there. And then taking a deeper breath. If you're on your elbows, go ahead and come up onto your hands. With the back toes curled under, bring the right knee forward a bit. Slide the left leg back. Take your time. And again, let's adjust as you feel is appropriate for you. Down dog, child's pose. Maybe there's a flow you want to do. You're going to lift a leg into the air behind you. If you're not sure what to do, just try things. All right. So take your time. But when you're ready, let's come onto our backs again for just a couple more postures before Shavasana. We're in the home stretch here. Okay. Good. So we've been doing a lot of forward bending in tonight's class, so we need to help counterpose that by doing some back bending. So we're actually going to practice bridge pose again, and we're going to hold it for maybe about 30 to 45 seconds. So just know that's where we're headed, and we can have the arms on the floor this time. So when you're ready, heel stacking underneath your knees, go ahead and press the hips up, coming into bridge. And there are variations of bridge. You could stay here if you wanted. If you know how to interlace the fingers under the body and walk onto the sides of the shoulders, that's available to you here as well. And let's get steady here. Calm breath, calm body as much as you can. Keep the hips pressing up. But anything that doesn't have to be engaged relaxes. Inhale. Exhale, slowly release the hips back down. Release the shoulders if they're tucked under. And walk your feet away from your body again. Take them as wide apart as your yoga mat. Arms out to the side. And go ahead and just move the knees from side to side. Rocking up onto one hip, coming back to center, rocking up onto the other hip. And it feels good for you. You can turn the chin away from the knees. It's helping to release any tension that's kind of built up in the neck and jaw. From side to side, breathing steadily. Just a few more times. Good. Then bringing the knees back to center, hug them into your chest, holding behind the thighs. Holding behind the thighs. And then flex both feet. Extend your legs toward the ceiling. Pull the toes back toward you. And then feel your tailbone grounding to the floor. Reclined staff pose. So you're really reaching through the heels here. The lower back is grounding. And you're breathing. Keep reaching through the heels. Keep pulling the toes back. Good. Deep breath in. And then exhale, knees to chest. And extend your legs down to the floor. And now is the time to rest. Now is the time to rest. Bring any support where you need it right now. Prepare your space in any way that you need to right now. Turning down lights if you'd like to. Bringing a blanket under your head or covering up with a blanket. Supporting yourself in any way you need to in this moment. And as you come to relax here, Notice where there's still effort and see if you can relax that consciously. But sometimes we hold tension unconsciously. And so it's worth a body scan to see where there still might be holding, where there still might be effort. So bring your awareness to your feet, your lower legs, the thighs, glutes, muscles of your pelvis, front abdomen, lower back, chest, throat, shoulders, arms, hands, jaw, all facial muscles, eyes, crown of the head, back of the head, whole body just letting go, melting. Peace, peace, peace. Please begin to take a deeper, fuller breath and begin to make gentle movements in the hands and feet, your arms and legs. And when you're ready, go ahead and roll to your right side. And then coming up to a seat as you feel complete here. All right. So we'll practice Kaya Stira one more time to close our practice. And I want you to think about something as we do. There's this tendency when we're holding the body still to tend to some of these superficial, more anxious type movements like scratching or itching. And I want you to hold back naturally from that. But think about how that might translate into other knee jerk or habitual things that you do in your life that you don't need to do or might have less discernment around that you do just because it's a habit or because you don't think about it as much or there might even be an addictive quality to it, who knows. But the point is that you're allowing there to be a moment of discernment between the stimulus of what's trying to pull your attention or that habit and whether or not you actually do it. We're creating space. That is what Kayastira is. It's that stillness in there. It allows you discernment to know how to even practice non-excess or moderation or brahmacharya. So just a couple of minutes. Sit tall, hands relaxing on the thighs, shoulders relaxed again. And you can prepare yourself for this. Get out any last minute fidgets or adjustments that you need to. And then take a deep breath in and out. And as you exhale, just feel all of your body become still like a statue. Of course, we're still breathing, but even that is effortless. Remain still, even if there's some discomfort. It might pass. And can you be okay even if it doesn't? And while we're still practicing stillness here, where before it might have been a rigid stillness, like you're holding yourself still, see if you can even relax that rigidity so that you're now just allowing yourself to be still. There's a relaxed quality to Kaya Sthira. There's simply no need to move. Feeling your body at rest. After a while, the effort around stillness dissipates even more, And you actually find yourself resting. You find yourself still in a way that feels supportive, maybe even good, or even preferable. And even as you start to move again in a few moments, keep this discernment. Does this need my attention, or is it just a habit? Same with any other habits. So taking a deeper, fuller breath, bring your palms together, lower the chin, and honor yourself for all of the hard work you've done here tonight. Gratitude for all of that. And entertaining the idea of this fourth restraint, non-excess, Brahmacharya. May all of that effort and this practice keep you on the path, keep you inspired. Until we meet again, namaste.